Hey there, folks, and welcome back to the Overflow. My name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Baldwin, also known as the Hatman.
And for those of you who do not know, for better or worse, the Overflow is here to discuss any and all of the questions that we missed, sadly, during the podcast Q&A session. And if you're wondering what is in my hand, it is the remainder of what white wine I have in my fridge, because I needed to make room. So, figured I'd drink it while we do this. Not to mention, wine always loosens me up a bit. So, I guess I'm like a prom date that way. Anyway. As always, though, we break it down into politics and entertainment. I have brought munchies to chew on as well, so hopefully we'll have some fun tonight. But Hatman, where should we start? Politics or entertainment?
Let's hit entertainment this time.
Alright.
Why not?
Well, we got everything from Twitter, thankfully, over the podcast, so let's go ahead and get to what we missed from the chat. Gojiro wanted to know who is the best metal singer, and why is it Angela Gossow? Hatman, do you even know who that is?
No. See, that's your territory, not mine.
Hell yeah. So Angela Gossow was the front woman for a death metal band called Arch Enemy. They are probably one of the best bands to come out of Germany since the Scorpions. And she is sadly no longer the front woman. It's somebody different now who I don't like nearly as much. And Angela was a rare one because she had a lot of stage presence despite being the smallest person in the band. Because she's surrounded by these 6-foot Germans. But there was something about her aggressiveness that made her just command a crowd. But she was also still is, very beautiful. So, I wouldn't say she's the best right now. Or recently. She's pretty up there. But, I think the best metal frontman, probably over the last 10 to 15 years, I would probably say has been Jesse Leach of Killswitch Engage. He would be the one guy I would put up there. He's easily the best vocalist. Like, it's not even close. Other than him, the most talented overall would be Devin Townsend. So, but Angela is easily the best female lead of a band that's been out there in a long fucking time. She is an incredible performer, and I really wish she was still with Arch Enemy. I think she actually manages the band now instead of working as a singer, which is weird. Whatever.
Yeah, that sounds kind of completely out of place.
Yeah. Alright. Here's an interesting one from Hardboiled Entertainment. Ever since Andrew Klavan's classic article on The Dark Knight, I've long felt that superhero films are the major bastion of conservatism in Hollywood. What are your position on this? I would agree completely.
I'm not sure if I would agree or not, if only because it can always change.
Well, of course, but up to this point, though.
To this point, I would probably agree, yes. With the biggest releases, the most critically acclaimed ones at the very least, being very conservative in their politics. Yes, Dark Knight, the last two Captain America movies, Winter Soldier and Civil War specifically.
Oh yeah.
I mean, even Black Panther, for God's sake.
Yeah, I would agree with that. A lot of what Black Panther is talking about is national sovereignty versus some sort of a one world black nation.
Yeah, I mean he's a nationalist.
Yeah.
The Black Panther is a nationalist.
And the bad guy is a black separatist,
yeah.
Which is a very far left-wing idea. And yeah. T'Challa would be, on the political scale, further to the right. So, and even at the end of the day, when he decides to start interacting with the world more, a good chunk of it is through private charity, not through some sort of public influence.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's a, I think that this is the weird thing about superheroes. Inherently, the classic superhero story is inherently right-wing or conservative in a lot of senses when you look at it. But I think the only reason that I would consider it such is because it's a very American way of doing things, and right now the right wing is the pro-America wing.
Yeah.
A lot of the concepts that are popular in regards to comic books these days, and the old ways, or what we consider old ways, were a much more common thought and way of looking at things 20, 30 years ago. We were much more united as a nation. There wasn't this swath of anti-American sentiment that there is now. So, yeah, I would agree with that. But I think it's only because right now there is a half of America, or it seems like, well, half of the American voting bloc, but a very smaller number, but very loud number of people seem to be convinced that America has become this evil empire when it certainly has not.
Mm-hmm.
So, regardless, though, Hatman, I'm echoing a little bit. If you could turn it down just a touch.
Right.
But yeah, as it stands, I think that, a lot of values that we hold to be conservative these days, are definitely echoed in superhero films. I think that's why they resonate so well. Honestly, because they're just qualities that make people want to be better than what they were the day before. I still remember my ex-girlfriend, her name was Morgan. We went and saw the Avengers together on, I think, the weekend it came out. And I just remember, it was weird. It's weird to describe this. I've been, ever since I did that fucking visual novel, I have been more wimpy, to put it more emotional lately. But so my description is gonna be really weird. But when I was holding her hand as we were walking out of the theater, it's almost like I could feel the energy coming off of her, and you could feel that she was soaring. Because of the film, because of what was done, because of the heroism of the characters and the example that they set. We talked about that film for 5 hours after we got out of the theaters because of it, and then made out. So it was kind of awesome. But yeah, I think it's a good thing for our culture too, And on top of that, there's more people that are like Reginald Hudlin, who was one of the Black Panther writers, who a lot of people consider to be one of the race baiting ones. Said it's perfectly fine for a white kid to dress as T'Challa for Halloween because he believes that there are thoughts and things that T'Challa represents that are universal and that every kid should look up to. And I'm like, yes! Exactly! Because these ideas are not attached to a race. They're not. They're attached to humanity. It's like, why does it, these uniting ideas need to be something we all need to be banding together on. And I think that superhero films in that way are a positive for our culture right now. And I don't want to see them change in that regard, and I don't want to see them go. So, that's my thoughts on that. Anything to add, Hatman?
Nope, I agree.
All right. Crystal Wing wants to know, if there was a Venom game in the future, what would you think would being able to play the main villain in co-op or something like that and have the progress determine the ending like Fear? Well, right now I will say that if they did a Venom video game, it would probably sell like gangbusters, especially if it was the same people who made the most recent Spider-Man game who made it. Like I said on the podcast, if you could just barrel through New York alongside the web-swinging mechanics, it would be a fucking trip. It would be a badass game. I wouldn't be against that sort of thing. Multiple endings and stuff like that. That'd be really cool. Yeah, so I'm on board.
I'm not sure as to why you'd have multiple endings in a Venom game. Just to have them,
yeah.
But
it gives the player a feeling that they have some sort of influence on the universe.
I guess, but I don't see how that's specific for Venom though.
Doesn't have to be. It's just an interesting idea.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, I'm just down for a Venom game in general.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, keep Insomniac, have him bust through shit, and make him the protagonist. Make a Venom game about Venom. Don't have him share the limelight with Spider-Man like he did in I think it was the Ultimate Spider-Man game.
Yeah.
Just have it Venom centric.
Yeah, I agree. All right.
Ultimate Destruction. Take some notes from that too.
Oh yeah, definitely. All right. Will End wants to know, how do we feel about the possibility of good A-list Jules Verne movie adaptation in the future?
That's the problem with Jules Verne stuff, though. A lot of it is outdated because it's not really as wondrous anymore. Although I will say that I would gladly take a 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, well, another 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea film, and like one that's got the ending done properly instead of Nautilus just randomly sinking and whatever that Disney did.
Yeah.
And that was like 3 hours long too. Holy shit. But no, I would gladly take another 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. But it's like they've done Journey to the Center of the Earth somewhat recently, and that was balls. They even did a sequel too.
Yeah.
I don't know why. They did Around the World in 80 Days, I think, like a decade or so ago. Because wasn't Jackie Chan in that?
Mm-hmm.
That was also kind of balls.
Yeah.
I don't see the point in doing From the Earth to the Moon. I mean, it's weird because it's like, think back to War of the Worlds, for example. I mean, you had to update it.
Mm-hmm.
When Spielberg was doing that, you kind of had to update it for modern times because it's not as, I guess, interesting to mainstream audiences if it's set, in the time period for which it was written, like early 1800s, 1900s, stuff like that. That's unfortunate, but I mean, what the hell can you do?
I do not know. I mean, I'll just say I wouldn't be against it. What Jules Verne I have read, I enjoyed, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just don't know how mainstream audiences would react to it, and that's the issue that I've got.
The Holy Ninja wants to know, do we watch the Overwatch shorts, and what do we think of the reunion? The only thing I look for, anything Overwatch-oriented, or pay attention to, is whenever somebody is dressed like Tracer in a thong. That's it. That's all. I don't care about the game. I really don't. I already play Team Fortress 2.
I do not play Overwatch. I don't really have a desire to play Overwatch except for like a mild curiosity because I've got friends that play it. I don't watch the Overwatch shorts. I think I saw a bit of the one with Widowmaker in it, but I don't really pay attention to anything new beyond that.
Yep. What else we got here? Another Venom question. Swordsman 100 wants to know thoughts on Eddie Venom meeting Nightcrawler and the possible interactions regarding their faith that they could have. That is a Venom story that I would always love to write. Especially recently with Eddie falling away from the faith as a Catholic. I think that'd be an interesting thing to examine, and Nightcrawler would be a character I would use to examine it, for sure. Yeah, I would love it. I'll never get the chance to work at Marvel, but if I did, that's something I would pitch.
Would you throw Matt Murdock in there?
No. I like Nightcrawler better when it comes to stories about religion. especially in discussing theology, because Kurt is the eternal optimist, and he contrasts very well against the eternal pessimist, or to somebody with a darker worldview.
So you would just have those two. You wouldn't have a third in there at all?
No.
Okay.
Two's company, three's a crowd.
Yeah, that's true.
Though Daredevil is a comic I would love to write. I think I would do him quite a bit of justice. And have you looked at the finish of Inglewood issue 1 yet?
I'm fairly certain I've finished it. Yeah.
Okay, I just finished writing it last night. What'd you think of the ending? Just to let the audience know.
Oh no! If that was last night's stuff, no, I didn't see it.
Never mind.
I thought what I saw most recently was
2/3
the ending. Okay, I thought you would already started writing the next one.
No, it's a 23-page comic.
Okay, well,
all right. You have editing to do.
All right. I have work to do. Well, I have work to do tomorrow after a dentist appointment and before election stuff.
Yep, we'll get to it.
Because tonight,
dank horse.
Tonight it's a marathon of My Little Pony.
Fuck. I'm gonna need more wine.
Yeah, tonight is a fuck.
Yeah. All right. Koopa's Revenge Home says, "What do you think about Smash Brothers getting a season pass?" I'm surprised.
I mean, it makes sense to me. I mean, they've got DLC fighters coming out. I'm surprised they didn't do a season pass for Smash 4.
Mm-hmm.
They did a Mario Kart season pass, if I remember correctly, so it's not like Nintendo has never done this before. I think they did the same for Breath of the Wild also.
I wouldn't know. I don't play Nintendo stuff. But
no, I'm not surprised. I'm glad they're actually tying like the DLC all together. Like you get a character and you get a stage with it.
Yeah.
As opposed to how they did it last go round, which was you can buy, everything separately if you want, or you can get it all in a bundle. And I mean, like, yeah, it's cool and all, but at the same time, it's like you were getting stages that nobody gave a fuck about, like in the bundles too. Like,
yeah, the only thing that would really,
the
only thing that would really get me to like buy. Well, I'm thinking about buying the game just because Simon Belmont's in it. And him and Snake like would be the two I would play. But like for me, it would depend who's in it. Like if you added more Metal Gear characters, I would consider it. Like if you put Raiden in there, and you have his stage like the background music be Rules of Nature. Okay, money here, take it, console and all. Like seriously, that would be fucking epic. But
you're thinking of PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale.
They didn't have Rules of Nature in that though.
Fairly certain they did have Rules of Nature in there as the song when the Metal Gear Ray cuts through the Loco Roco stage.
Really?
Fairly certain that was Rules of Nature.
That game sucked
wrong,
anyway.
But I think that game was a whole lot better than people gave it credit for.
Yeah, but it still wasn't up to par. It could have been more than what it was.
You could tell it was trying to be Smash. You could tell.
All right, let's move on though, because we're kind of getting directed there. CT117 says, "How can we be a fan of some films when we don't like the way Hollywood thinks?" Do you like pizza?
I don't really like pizza. No.
Liar.
I really am not that crazy about pizza. I'm not even kidding you.
Well, you're not. I'm asking the audience though. Do you like pizza? Yes or no? Do you go into a pizza place and ask the guy behind the counter who he voted for every time that you go in and buy a pizza? Because I sure as fuck don't. Like, it's a product. Like, yeah, if you don't like the person and for whatever reason you don't want to buy it, then God bless you. That's whatever you want to do is fine. But I don't care half the time. I really don't. Like, unless, like, you'll never see me giving money to Roman Polanski, ever. But he's literally a rapist, and there's evidence of it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like he went to some bullshit edgy party like the James Gunn thing. You know, it's legit evil. You know, making light of terrible things, I don't think is necessarily bad. It's just childish.
Yeah.
It's not as bad. And yes, I do think that humans can attribute levels to sin. But, I don't care half the time if they vote the same way I do. Or if they don't.
It's like we were just praising Marvel movies for, having conservative values about them.
Most people who act in them are all liberals.
Yeah, how many of those are lefties? Like, Chris Evans is very, very openly a lefty.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking, like, Don Cheadle and Scarlett Johansson and fucking Robert Downey Jr. were, like, campaigning for Hillary.
Yeah.
They made that one fucking video during 2016. All that shit. But
whatever. Election's over.
The irony of the messages in their films being more conservative oriented, though.
Well, and that's the funny thing. Charles Murray talks about this in Coming Apart, is that most people who are on the left, especially white people, actually do agree with a lot of conservative values. They push the other stuff to maintain power and influence.
Mm-hmm.
Or because they put emphasis on it because they think it's what their side is supposed to do. It's not really, it's like, I don't really think that they really think that much about gay marriage. I don't really think that they think that much about these sorts of things. I don't.
Mm-mm.
You know, and I would agree with Murray on that a lot of people don't. You know, at the end of the day, here's my thing on this whole thing. Did we win the election? Yes or no? Obviously the answer is yes. If we're supposedly the bigger people here, if we're supposedly the superior brand, if we are supposedly this and that, why the fuck do we still care? And why do we care if they care? I don't. I just fucking don't. It's like why I don't follow most of these people on Twitter if they're talking politics all the time. It's like, dude, get over it. Dude. You know, but that's the end of it. I don't like to think about politics that much. Again, if the Politics Podcast had a tagline to it, it is that politics suck.
Mm-hmm.
And they drag your life down. There's a reason that people say the last two things I want to talk about are politics and religion.
Yep.
It's because it's not a fun conversation. Sometimes it's a necessary one, but it's not a fun conversation. And entertainment's about fun. Consumerism is about fun.
How many times have we said on the Politics Podcast, like, sorry to be depressing, or wow, that was really depressing, or that was a downer?
Yeah.
I mean, we say it too often.
The only thing that made the Kavanaugh discussions worthwhile was people praising us for him and basically saying thank you for doing that. That's the only thing that made it worthwhile.
Yeah.
Honestly. Like, everything else about it was not fun. That hurt
it was
to
exhausting.
do. Yeah, it was
exhausting.
Yeah, it's mentally tiring to deal with. I don't know how people get off on this shit. Like, political theater's fascinating, but it has a point where it gets old fast. Mm-hmm. And it's especially with entertainment, it's like it is a product. I am not Vox Day. I do not give a fuck if a lefty buys my comic. I don't care. I don't care. Now, if I'm doing a signing somewhere, and somebody comes up to me and says, will you write something pro-Antifa on this book when you sign it? Or will you write 1488? The answer is going to be fuck off. But that's because they crossed a line. But I don't care that they bought the book. Whatever. It's a burger. It's important to me to do. It's a dream. But my dream is basically to sell a story to people. And if you like the story, to just enjoy it. And that's their goal too, whether they realize it or not. It's not like they're pushing gun control or anything like that in some of their films. And if they are, I'm just not going to fucking watch it because it's not interesting. It's not fun. Give me giant robots. Give me superheroes. Give me Scarlett Johansson in more tight leather. Like, fuck. I don't care. I don't. Tom Hardy probably doesn't doesn't agree with a good chunk of the things that I talk about. I fucking loved Venom. I want more of it because it was fucking awesome. You know, I don't need people to agree with me on everything for me to buy their stuff. And if you are that way, you're not going to enjoy much in life. You're not. Tribalism is stupid. It is fucking dumb. Because the fact of the matter is, like, people talk about it's instinctive all day. I know I'm ranting here. But there are some things that are instinctive to human nature that are fucking stupid in the long run. That actually make it worse. That's why instinct alone is not enough for humanity. A deer runs in front of your vehicle is instinctive. Running in front of your vehicle is technically instinctive. Was it a smart move for the life expectancy of the deer? Fuck no. It's not an argument, as Stefan Molyneux would say. And I don't like Stefan Molyneux either. But if he gave me a pizza and the pizza tasted good, I'd eat it. Rant over. Criminy, people. I'm sorry that if I'm coming across as cold there, but it doesn't really matter. And the less it matters to you in the long run, the happier you're going to be. Alright. On to politics. So we owe an apology to two patrons, to Talon Silverbane and to Delta Core, because we missed these in the Discord. So, Talon had the question. He says here, we seem to be swimming in negativity of late, from politics to people trying to shove politics into escapism, to just outright assholes being assholes. How does one keep positive in the sea of vileness without becoming as bitter or hateful as the monsters we face? Oddly enough, I think I just kind of explained it.
Yeah, about to say, that's a great transition.
You have to say, fuck it.
Yeah.
I don't care anymore. Because for everything there is a season. For everything there is a context, a time and place. That's straight out of Ecclesiastes. And I think that there's a lot of wisdom in that. Well, I mean, granted, it's considered part of the Bible that it deals with wisdom. But think about it this way. You get married, you're making love to your wife. Is that really a good time to start bringing up polling data? No. It really isn't.
Maybe if you're a lefty.
Unless it really gets her going. Oh, God, tell me about the Rasmussen polls. Like, I don't think that's a thing. I don't think so. But, like, that's not something that you really want to think about that often. And I lost you there for a second. But that's not something that, like, it's just about context. It's like, if I want to know what the news is, then my brain goes into politics mode. You know, and a good thing to do is basically, if you don't want this a part of it, don't support anyone who's trying to inject it. Hatman, what do you think?
Basically, yeah. If you find yourself fed up with movies and TV and such because of the politics, find the ones that are just fun. And I mean, that's what we call popcorn flicks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, find your escape. There's always going to be something that you can escape into. There's always going to be escapism for the sake of escapism.
Yeah, exactly.
Just go with that.
And another thing that I would say is don't assume everything is pro or anti something.
Yeah.
Because I've met people that think that, like, certain things are inherently pro or anti-Christian or inherently pro or anti. I got into that all that shit when I was a kid. It made me fucking miserable, and I ended up being wrong. So, yeah. All right. The other question we had was from Delta Core. It says here, for the political podcast, I was rolling around the concept of cannibalistic or theft-based revolution, the French Revolution or the Bolshevik Revolution as examples. Do revolutions that are premised on decapitating the hosts in power and claiming their resources naturally end in this chaos? And if the American Revolution, being premised on escaping the host in power and being forced to work on new soil with only what they have, would carry with them, is the American Revolution being like this uniquely effective because of it? Yes. Because the American Revolution was not about taking something. We were the people who fought in the Revolution were British colonists who had come to America to build something new. I mean, that's basically been the theme of America. People coming here to build something new.
It was about making rather than taking.
Exactly. We were basically fighting for independence. We weren't fighting to remake the British Empire. We were fighting to create something brand spanking new that stood on a different set of principles. And the principles of the nation were what is what needed to be the foundation and has been ever since. We are a nation not built on some sort of an ethnicity or some sort of nationalistic idea. It was about nationalism born from a philosophy, which is something that a lot of people don't seem to understand. American nationalism is very different. I prefer the term patriotism, as many other people do, because it's not just about, I live here, ergo it is good. It is, I live here, and where I live stands for something, which is something that a lot of people miss. I think that we have a president right now who does not miss that. I think we have many people on the right who don't miss that either. They understand that there is a principle here in America, and there are ideas that we have that should remain sacred to us, but are also self-evident, as Ben Franklin would have put. I think that's part of what, in my opinion, ended up flipping Lindsey Graham from rhinoed back to Republican. And some other people in Congress, too, putting their feet down and really letting loose. It was basically Brett Kavanaugh about to be put up on a cross and nailed to it that got him to wake up and realize that the American experiment was in danger.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't just Kavanaugh, it was a myriad of issues. So, but anyway, yeah, that's basically why our nation has, been so strong when these other nations seem to constantly go through different versions of themselves. Is the United States figured it out. We figured out what a nation needs to be to last. And other nations simply have not caught up. People try to say that, like, the rest of the world, like, certain undeveloped nations are that way because of their race or what, or something along those lines. It's like, motherfucker, like, Europe has not caught up either. The supposed civilized Europe has not caught up to America. They haven't. No one has. It's because we are literally the greatest nation on earth. Not because of education statistics, not because of our economy, though we are the number one economy in the world again, or now by leaps and bounds again. It's not just because of American exceptionalism, but it's because of our principles that make us exceptional. Hard work, dedication, building something new, individualism, morality, the family, charity, private enterprise. These things are cornerstones of what was built off of. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
Mm-hmm.
Without that philosophy, we don't have what we have now. So yes, you're definitely onto something, Delta. Like that is basically what sets the United States apart from every other nation in the world. And if more nations followed the example of the United States, they would be better than what they are. Maybe that's jingoistic to some people. My response is my middle finger. Mm-hmm. And a bald eagle somewhere behind me.
Coup d'etats rarely end well, anyway.
The goal should be liberation, not from the previous guy, but from what made the previous guy bad.
Mm-hmm.
That is the best way to put it. Because oftentimes coup d'etats are just about one jackass taking power from another jackass they didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's go ahead and get to the chat questions we missed. Cooper's Revenge Home says, or wants to know, does the left realize, not realize that PETA is a joke and doing the exact same shit they do will only make him a joke too? No, they don't realize that. They have no clue about how stupid they look these days.
I'm still shocked that people take PETA seriously, that anyone takes PETA seriously.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. But yeah, like, I'm not shocked at all. Like, these folks legit think that what they're doing is working.
Yeah. Mm-mm. I mean, it's a failure to self-evaluate. They play the blame game constantly. It's not what did we do wrong? You know, how can we improve? It's why. It's not a question of why weren't we good enough. It's what kept us from winning. If that makes sense. That probably sound like the same thing, but no, it's someone else's fault. It's a lack of accountability. I mean, go back to 2016. I mean, we're still talking about, you know, why did Hillary lose? Okay, well, we know why Hillary lost, because she was very disliked as a candidate. She was weak with more progressive Democrats who wanted her to be more like Bernie Sanders, on top of, you know, her history and all the negative things on her record.
Plus, she had no message.
Yeah, well, yeah, that too.
Her message was, I'm Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, you go back and watch, like, election night coverage, and you'll hear people say, you know, Donald Trump had a message, you know, make America great again. What was Hillary's message? I'm with her? Yeah, that's very Hillary-centric.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, even Obama's message was change.
Hope and change,
that wasn't Obama-centric, despite the fact that it had the little O attached to it. But no, that's why. But no, now it's Russia or Comey, as it was in the days after the election.
Yeah.
You know, shit like this. It's never their fault. It's someone else's fault. So no, I don't think they're going to realize how fucking stupid they are and what they've turned into. Because frankly, I don't even know if they can anymore. And if that's the case, then you're going to see continuous doubling down. Like I've been saying, if the midterms do not go their way, if the blue wave turns out to be a blue wave pool, then somebody, it's gonna be a long fucking 2 years. I'll say that.
All right. Will End wants to know: have we ever heard of Miguel de Unamuno? Kind of Spain's Kierkegaard, and his books are great. I'll have to look into it. I love Kierkegaardian theology, so I'll look into it. Kierkegaard's brilliant, by the way.
Yes. Besides, the name Soren is also incredible. Just totally unrelated, but
yeah. But what was that book that I had read? Fear and Trembling was incredible. Incredible look at the sacrifice of Abraham and Isaac. Like the way that he dissects it is just Fear and Trembling. Yeah, that's what it's called. Incredible. The next one I want to read of his is The Sickness Unto Death. But his he was just a fantastic philosopher. All right. Brian Gilmartin wants to know, a recent article made a claim that most terror attacks committed in the U.S. are committed by white people. What are your thoughts on this? Depends on how you define terror, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, because if you're talking like mass shootings in there, then 9 times out of 10 you are mislabeling a terrorist attack. Because that's not terrorism. is meant to incite fear for political purposes, usually through violence. Like the mail bombings, for example, that's terrorism.
Yeah.
That was clearly meant to incite fear. The shooting at whatever it was, Parkland, that was not terrorism.
No.
There was no political agenda behind that. You know, the synagogue shooting, that was terrorism. There was some political motive behind it. It's really not that difficult to discern, but there are still people out there who think that no, if it's an act that scares people, then it's terrorism.
Yeah, which is not true. I'm looking through
Yeah,
the list here. So I went to Wikipedia, which they base theirs on the same attacks in as PolitiFact, and like they're not. If I'm looking at most people affected, Islamists are taking the lead. Like number of attacks, like some of these aren't even terrorism. Some of these are just stabbings. Like it's got. This is hilarious. They actually consider the mail bombing attempts the MAGA bomber or the MAGA not bomber, because none of the bombs fucking worked. They consider it a terror attack, and there were 0 victims and 0 injured. It was a dork who was crazy. It's not. I don't consider that terrorism.
No, I would say that's terrorism. I mean, the goal was to incite fear.
Mm.
I mean, yes, he was an idiot. In if his bombs worked, if he built them to actually detonate, then I mean, we'd be saying something completely different. Like, oh, absolutely, there'd be no hesitation about it. But
Yeah.
no, I would say because there was a political motivation behind it, and it was about inciting fear. Yeah, I would say absolutely that is an act of terrorism. Failed, but nonetheless.
But let's be honest about something. Like, from what I'm seeing here, it's like it's done by white people. No, it's done by white nationalists, actually. They are actually the most common terror group in the United States to carry out attacks. But the biggest ones have been from Islamists. So, and they try to say that's right wing. Only loosely. You know, white nationalism is I would consider it loosely right wing. It doesn't really hold any beliefs that are similar to that of the rest of the right. Then, because, yeah, it doesn't really, like, you look at a conservative, or you look at even further down the line, like a neoconservative or even a monarchist, there's a pretty sharp drop in philosophy in regards to how fucking evil it is when you start hitting that sort of white nationalists and alt-right and that sort of stuff. Like, there's a ridiculous departure. The only thing is an emphasis on traditionalism. That's really it. But even then, it's a stretch.
Yeah.
So I think that we need to be honest about that. Looking at this, though, it's like some of this, like, apparently if some dork drives into a Planned Parenthood, it's terrorism. Yeah, a lot of these are just stabbings and stuff like that.
Somebody waves a gun at a.
But I'm seeing like
a car with a Hillary bumper.
When I start seeing the fatalities, I start seeing distinctively Arabic names. And it's because there is across the world there's a lot of Islamist terror. The biggest over the last decade has actually been the Tsarnaev brothers in Boston, the Boston bombing, which was 6 dead and 281 wounded. So, yeah, there's In my opinion, the definition of terrorism is pretty loose. And even though there is a number of crazy white people doing this sort of shit, the idea that there is a white person terrorist problem is silly. There is, white nationalists. There's a reason that the FBI will list a white nationalist group on their watch list quicker than you can sneeze. It's because a lot of them are crazy and they will hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
People wonder why I hate the alt-right. I know these statistics. Fuck them. Ain't even coming close to that shit. I'm not entertaining them. Not entertaining their bullshit. Anyway. So that's my thoughts on that. What else we got here? What's your opinion on Calvinism? It's a denomination, isn't it?
Are there still Calvinists around?
Not very many. I don't agree with any denomination that says we don't have free will.
Yeah.
We do.
Mm-mm.
We do have free will.
Predestination is a big no-no.
Predestination and predeterminism, I don't believe are grounded in either science or theology. I think that they are terrible interpretations of the world around us. I think Sam Harris is wrong in that way, and I think that Calvinists and other denominations are wrong in that way too. Any sort of determinism, I think, is ridiculous. I think there's no real grounding in it. I think that people honestly adhere to it because they want an excuse to do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah.
Okay, Hardball Entertainment says, so Charlie Kirk is pointing out a surge of enthusiasm among California Republicans. What do we think the GOP chances are, and could you see Governor John Cox? If California flipped even purple in the midterms, people would lose their fucking minds.
Mm-hmm.
And I want it to happen. I don't know if it will. We'll wait for tomorrow to see.
I think there's about as much of a chance of California turning purple as Texas turning purple.
The statistics would seem to suggest that, but that's not what we're hoping that it does.
Yeah.
Well, hell, we're even hoping it would go red, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I don't.
But even though it's a good start, if nothing else, it's a good start.
It'd be hilarious.
Yeah, but point I'm trying to make now is enthusiasm is still good.
Yeah.
As long as people are getting out there and voting and talking to people about conservatism, I think that someday things could change for California. Someday. It just might not be tomorrow.
Could go back to being a red state.
That would be pretty cool. All right. I'm of the opinion, now that I think about it, that Donald Trump is one shift in rhetoric away from the next election being almost a repeat of Reagan's re-election. I think if he started focusing more on uniting rhetoric and things like that, then more people would be drawn to him than already are. So
I think so, but I think the amount of bitterness and hatred coming from the left is enough to keep any sort of election that he's involved in, or rather any Republican, I would say, for at least a couple of generations from winning in a landslide victory like that.
We'll see. Technically speaking, he won a pretty overwhelming victory.
Yeah.
It was a bigger gap than between George W. Bush and Al Gore and George W. Bush and John Kerry in the Electoral College. So,
well, yeah.
Because the Electoral College is what matters, people.
Yep.
Learn your civics. And then final question, Crystal Wing 2149 wants to know, how longer can the left, Antifa, and the MSM cause all this chaos and damage until the Republicans decide to bring the hammer down and deal with these lunatics? Well, we're not going to do anything about the mainstream media because that would be suppressing freedom of speech.
Mm-hmm.
That would be bad. Jim Acosta wants that to happen.
Yeah.
I want you guys to understand something. That's what Jim Acosta wants.
Yeah.
Jim Acosta wants to be a martyr Because Jim Acosta loves himself some Jim Acosta. Find you a woman who looks at you like Jim Acosta looks at himself in the mirror in the morning.
Yeah. I think to a degree, though, you are seeing the right bring the hammer down on some of these, but it's mostly like social media and whatnot.
It's about
there's a lot more media skepticism and holding them accountable than you have.
But that's
really
the way it's
seen,
supposed to
ever.
be done.
Exactly. Yes, but for the longest time, it was all about, well, I trust what I see, trust what I read. Now it's like, no, I don't anymore.
It's like, fuck you, you are fake news.
Yeah. It's like, no, this smells like shit. Like, you're telling me that that's gold, but I'm pretty sure there's a turd underneath that.
Yep. As for Antifa, yes, we think that the entire Homeland Security Department should declare them a terrorist association and treat them as such.
Yes, I don't give a shit if they are loosely organized. They are organized to a degree. You need to call them terror cells, because that is what they are. Read the book. It explains it. They admit it.
They are Marxist terrorists.
Yes. Yes.
And then, but yeah, like that's my big thing. Is one thing that I would love to see Donald Trump do, especially if the midterms go bad, because there are rumors that Antifa's getting ready to move and start intimidating people at the polls, is to declare them a terrorist organization and treat them as such anywhere they pop up. They should be arrested. They should be thrown in jail because of that association. We need, as a government, they need to turn the term Antifa into cancer. Because these fucking kids are not going to understand what they've gotten themselves into unless there are consequences. No. And the consequences thus far have been very light.
Yeah.
We can't have this. We can't. It's not good for public discourse. It's not good for our culture. It's not good for citizens at all. And the recognition of our rights of life, liberty, and property. These people don't believe in your right to life. They don't believe in your right to anything or even private property. Fuck them. To quote the great philosopher John Rambo there.
I mean, how many of the J20 protesters actually went to jail for rioting? I think the great majority of them actually ended up walking.
I honestly don't remember.
Yeah, quick search. Federal prosecutors dropped all charges against all defendants in the case. Yeah. July 2019.
Fuck that.
That's bullshit.
It's because they're not. If they were labeled as terrorists, this wouldn't happen. They would be in prison.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or they should be. You let them off, it just encourages more of it.
They're fucking insurrectionists.
Yeah.
When the hell do we let that off the hook?
I don't know. That's what I don't understand. Well, we let Bo Bergdahl off the fucking hook. I mean, I guess anything's possible.
True. Christ almighty. See what we mean when we say that politics is depressing?
Yeah. See, this is why I need to start dating again. So, like, I can just, like, go bury my face in a girlfriend's bosom for, like, 30 minutes to feel better. Or something like that.
It does make you feel a little better.
It's like, dear God, man. Like, this is... This is why I don't know if I could ever go full MGTOW, because women can be great, man. There literally is nothing in this world, in my opinion, that is better when you get home than a beautiful woman smiling at you. Nothing on this earth that's better. Alright. Well, I managed to turn that into a positive note. Now for dank horses.
Christ. Dank horses. And we have to do all three in a row?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Christ. I'm going to need some Chick-fil-A before I do that.
Yep, so we're going to go have fun with that. Don't forget, though, Wednesday night, November the 6th. I'm sorry, no, Tuesday night, November the 6th. I forgot it was Monday. Election special. We can confirm that Aiden Paladin and Brian Martinez of the Honey Badgers will be dropping in at certain points to discuss with us some, not just the polling data and things along those lines, but also some political things. I've been wanting to talk to Aiden about some stuff with Charles Murray for a while because she's more of an expert on his works than I am. Plus, Brian being a member of the Honey Badger Brigade, I wanted to talk to him about Kavanaugh and sort of the MRA reaction to what happened there in the courts, and he's definitely got his finger on the pulse of that. So, we're going to go ahead and take off, though, and get to this dank bullshit. Until next time, though, my name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Baldwin, also known as the Hatman.
We'll see you guys then. Deus Volt.
Deus Volt.